Oh, California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, now a candidate for governor. Well, he's backing universal health care for all of the state's millions of illegal immigrants.
Did universal health care when I was mayor, fully implemented, regardless of pre-existing condition, ability to pay, and regardless of your immigration status. San Francisco is the only universal health care plan for all undocumented residents in America. I'm very proud of that, and we proved it can be done without bankrupting the city. I'd like to see that we can extend that to the rest of the state.
It's time now for America's A-Team. Hugo Gurdon, editorial director of the Washington Examiner. Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio talk show host and Fox News contributor. David Asman, co-host of The Bell on the Fox Business Network. After the bell. Sorry, it's after the bell.
It's a
Once
big
the bell
bell,
rings.
but it's after the bell.
Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Hugo, let me start with you. Full health care for everybody, is this a good idea?
No, it's a terrible idea. Socialized medicine always reduces quality, and it doesn't reduce the price in the way that the left says it does. I think that the taxpayers of California are going to be pretty upset about the idea of paying for illegal immigrants, and the costs are going to go up. I think Gavin Newsom is the next governor of California, and so that may be
This
something
isn't just
to do.
free health care for all. This is free health care for all, including illegal immigrants, David. What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Free, free, free. Nobody pays for it. We know that a lot of people pay for it, and we saw what happened in Vermont, for example, when they tried to have universal health care there. They voted for it, then they decided to scrap it before they even implemented it, because of the fact they realized it would make the budget go bust. But what concerns me, you're absolutely right about the quality and the cost, both of which suffer as a result of universal health care or socialized medicine, let's be honest. But what worries me also is the type of immigration that it encourages. I mean, you look at the immigrants in Florida, for example, who came here to work and to make money. They turned that state around, mostly Cuban Americans. It's the kind of immigrants who come here to work rather than the kind of immigrants who come here for our welfare policies that we want. That's what concerns me as well, is how it encourages people to come here just for the benefits.
Leslie, do you agree with any of this?
Actually, as the lone liberal on the panel, I don't want you all to faint, but I actually don't agree with this particular proposal by who will be our next governor in California, Gavin Newsom, and this is why. In San Francisco, when he was mayor, what he doesn't talk about is runaways flocked to San Francisco. So did the homeless, because of policies like this. Where I live in Los Angeles, we have the highest homeless population in the United States. It's a problem we can't get under control. There is the cost. It is going to cost a huge amount that whether people are Democrats or Republicans, they're not going to support. But and right now, there is health care, quite frankly, for undocumented migrants. My husband's a physician. He gets called in. If you don't have health care, he has to treat you. That is the law if he is on call. He took an oath, and that is law if he's on call. And also, speaking of hospitals, it will be a burden. We don't have the medical staff and facilities to cover this amount of people, quite frankly, without the cost being paid.
Who say it's a humanitarian issue.
But we have the humanitarian issue covered, because if you look, my husband's not going to say, is this person here legally or not when he gets called in. He has a duty and an oath that he took to fulfill. But this is just not the way to go about it. These are very separate issues. First of all, you have the multifaceted immigration problem, which you legislate. Then you have health care, which you work on. But in the state of California, this would just bring more undocumented workers to the state and more homeless.
Isn't Newsom flexible enough so that, like what happened in Vermont, they decided to scrap it before they implemented it because they realized it wasn't going to make sense? Don't you think this is kind of a phony campaign promise that he may change if he becomes governor?
Absolutely, because he obviously has to have the votes, and when they see what the cost is going to be, the constituents aren't
Well, Hugo, this is the California panel today, because now California wants to do away with this bail system, so that, quote, the bail system, so that it can, quote, that rich and poor alike will be treated fairly. Here's what Governor Jerry Brown is saying on this overhaul of the bail system today. California reforms its bail system so that rich and poor alike are treated fairly. What happens with this?
It seems to me that with a system without bail, which has obviously been tried and tested for generations, centuries even, what you're going to get is more people not turning up for their trial. Judges are going to decide, is it okay for this person to be out free? The thing that really, I think the intriguing thing here is that although people say this will lead to more people in custody because they won't be paying bail, there are more people in custody waiting trial, what judges are likely to do is say, does this person deserve to be in custody, they'll think, no, I don't want to put this person in custody, so they'll be out without bail. So there'll be a lot more people out on the streets without bail who have committed crimes.
Well, and couldn't they, I mean, the situation with some illegal immigrants, when they are processed, they're given the ticket to come back, and so many of them skip the hearing, Leslie. Would that not be the same situation here if you don't have to do any financial responsibility? You got nothing, there's no responsibility there, so you can just skip on out.
Well, I went to agreeing with everyone to disagreeing with these guys on this. This I support. And the reason for this is currently I feel that the bail system, not just in California, but nationwide, it perpetuates the inequality that we see in our prison system. We have a vast overcrowding problem in the prisons in California. Many of these individuals are simply there not for violent crimes, but because they can't pay the bail. So to your point, if you're wealthy and you have committed a violent crime, you're out on the streets and you are a bigger flight risk because you have that passport, or maybe you have that private jet, or you have a friend that has it. So I feel this is fair. I think it is the right thing to do because it looks at who is more or less a danger to our society, and I do think it levels the legal playing field in the state.
And here in New York, people have been, there are not on bail, but they have not been able to come up with the dough, like $50, $100, and they're in
But you
Rikers
mentioned
Island
New York, Eric.
for months.
What we found out in New York, and we had an amazing victory over crime in New York. We had 2,200 murders a year. It's now down to about 300 a year. I mean, it's an extraordinary drop in violent crime. But we found that if you allow the small crimes to go unpunished, the big crimes grow, because a lot of times the people that commit the small crimes are also the ones that are committing the big crimes. So you say it's for non-violent crimes and so forth. Okay, that's fine. But if you let those go, if you let people out immediately who commit the small crimes, very often they're involved in the big crimes as well. So you got to be careful of that.
Yeah, that was the broken windows theory.
Exactly.
Jerry Brown has been pushing for this, by the way, since 1979. He first mentioned it in the State of the State address, calling it a tax on poor people. Bail agents talking about how this is going to reform the criminal justice system. Some are threatening to leave California because of it. So we'll be watching all of that. We'll see more from the A-Team in a few minutes.